What's up YouTube? Scotty Tradition back with another video. Thought that I would bring to you a little something different today. So about twice a year, typically I'll go through my entire collection and kind of put value estimates on everything just for, if not only just for insurance purposes, just to kind of keep up with the market, peace of mind, just to have an idea of, what is all in the collection and try to get at least the most accurate pricing that I can. Used to do this about 3 times a year, but due to time constraints and the collection has certainly grown over the years, twice a year I think is good enough. And that allows me to know how much insurance I want to put on it, and again, just keeps my records kind of up to date of what I have in the collection. So as we all know, there's a lot of pricing tools that you can use out there. I have up on my screen right there VFC. I'm a part of, or excuse me, VCP. I'm a part of Vintage Card Prices, so have the yearly subscription to that. So that is pretty helpful as far as primary vintage collectors will go. There's a lot of information there. Pricing data goes back quite a ways. The only part I really don't like about VCP is their search tool. When you're searching for a card, typing in the last name of a player seldom works. You got to type in the first name, and sometimes if you type in the first name and the last name, it still doesn't work. So not a huge fan of their search tool that they have there. I don't know why it's like that. I feel like it could be a lot more user friendly, but it does get the job done as far as like accurate price tracking and things like that. The downside of VCP is that you can't put all your cards in there if they're not graded. And then there are certain cards that I have that there just aren't any sales of, so I can't really put that in there. Can't really include memorabilia either, of course, so I have some of that in the collection as well, so it is a little bit limited. I probably can put about 75% of my collection in VCP, but there's another 25 to 30% probably that I track outside of that. So VCP is the primary tool that I use. There's also some other tools out there like Card Ladder and Market Movers as well, or simply just searching eBay previous sales. You could do that. Another tool that I like to use is called 130point.com. So 130point.com. And what that allows you to do is to see what the best offer prices are on cards that are not shown on eBay. On eBay, a lot of times if a seller takes the best offer, it won't show the actual what the offer was. But on 130 point, you can kind of track some of that stuff down, which is handy. So to make a long story short, basically the best way to track your collection, in my opinion, is to kind of bring aspects of all of these into your tracking process. So again, for me, I'll primarily use, and I'll even use the PSA card website as well, because you can track sales on that as well from previous auctions and auction houses. They're really good at getting some of those sales that you're not going to find on eBay and previous sales and that kind of stuff. So I like to use all those tools to my disposal, and twice a year I'll kind of go through everything and try to find the best price for a card. So what makes it kind of tricky if you're a primarily vintage collector, is that eye appeal plays such a huge role in the value of your card. It's not so simple as like just jumping on Card Ladder and being like, okay, what's a PSA 4 of this guy worth? When there are so many factors that go into how that card got a PSA 4. You can have every different thing, and obviously the most sought after attributes typically are bright, colorful surface and also centering. Those tend to be pretty universal. I understand there's people that might like edges and corners and all that stuff, but the higher priced cards that sell are always more centered, and they're just more eye appeal, brighter than other cards typically. So I thought it'd kind of be fun to grab 4 cards through random that I've gone through so far, and as I'm valuing the collection again. And the first one is the 34 Goudey Hank Greenberg. You can see that kind of up in front there, and I have the PSA 4 data pulled up. Now here's the one in my collection. This is a pretty darn nice example here. Pretty sharp all the way around, nice centering. Just really a nice example. This actually is a PWC designated top 15% card. So really nice example of the Hank Greenberg rookie card from 34 Goudey. So when I'm trying to find a value for what this is, those are the kind of things I look for. So not a lot of previous eBay sales on this recently. You can see here, looking at the VCP data, there's only been one sale this year, and it was back in February. And if we take a peek at that card, you can see, yeah, that's a PSA 4, but you know, it's got some blemishes. It's definitely an older label card. The centering's fairly nice, but there's a lot left to be desired on this PSA 4 example when I think you compare it to this one. So this one sold for $2,200. So you can see their average price here of $2,200 up here. And it's like, I can't really say that that's what this would go for necessarily. I do think that this one that I have would go for more than that. And you look here, there's 3 sales back in 2023. So typically I'll look back a little bit. This one sold for $2,000. That was back in December. And again, that's definitely got some centering issues. So not the cleanest 4. This one sold for a little bit more, $2,400, but you can tell old label and off-centered as well. This is the other 2023 sale. This one is a little bit better centered, $2,200 sale. So you can tell there's one way back here in 2021 that sold for $3,400, and this one's got a, again, really clean looking example there. A little off-centered, but very clean looking other than that. So that was actually the highest selling one that I see here. So that's always the question, right? So what do I denote this card as? So looking at all the other sales here, I'd probably put this one at about $2,700. I haven't seen any better looking PSA 4 that's sold in the last 2 years. So this is probably the best one that I see out there. People do pay for eye appeal, and I think this one has it. So that's kind of where I come up with a number on that. Even though, you know, if I were trying to sell it, I'm sure others would tell me that these were the last previous sales over here in the $2,000 to $2,400 range, but I just wouldn't sell it for that. This is just a beautiful example of the card. So what I'll do then is I'll take that $2,700 and I'll put it into an Excel spreadsheet that keeps track of all the true values that I put on cards, as opposed to just having it in VCP or some other app. I find that the Excel spreadsheet works the best to get accurate data. So looking at another card here, I grabbed, here's the 54 Topps Sandy Koufax. I have mine, take a quick look at it here. This is a beautiful example. I bought this a few years back. Just centering, beautiful PSA 4. So you can see there's been a few sales, actually 4 sales in May. So we have some recent data on this card. There's one that sold for $1,000. And that's, again, way off-centered is that one. New label, but off-centered. $960. Again, this one is off-centered as well. Here's one that sold for $1,125. You can see a little better centering on that one. Still not to the one that I just showed you, but getting closer. And then here's one that sold at Golden. It's kind of hard to see, but you can tell this one's a beautiful example. Sold for $1,370, all in May. So you can tell the majority of these are selling around $1,000, but a nice eye appeal one looks like it can sell for a little higher, like $1,300, $1,400. So for a value on this card, I'd kind of put it in that $1,250 to $1,300 range, just based on what it is. Even though there's been more recent sales that have been a little lower in price, I think that this one looks better than all those. So I really feel like you have to take that into account. All right, here's another example. Here's a 57 Topps Ted Williams. You can see the average price on this one is $716. Now this one's a really great example because this one's a little bit all over the place for previous sales. So when you're trying to decide what a card is worth, so you can see the last sale there. There's only been one sale in May, and it was $554. Let's take a peek at it. You can tell the top to bottom centering on this one. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's really not great. Overall, not a terrible looking card though, but top to bottom centering is definitely off. And then you look just a few days before that, one sold in the PWCC weekly auction for over $1,000. And so this one you can see just beautifully centered all the way around, nice bright colors on the card. Definitely a card that collectors willing to pay a premium for. So there's a huge difference between $550 and $1,000. So like, what's this card actually worth? Then you start looking back a little bit. This one sold for $430, but again, off-centered, older label. This one sold all the way back up at $980. Again, this one's got a little bit better centering, still an old label. I'd say that the one that I have looks better than that one, nonetheless, but not a bad card. So, you know, I'd probably put the one that I have here somewhere in that 750 to 800 range, with a little caveat that it might even sell for a little bit more to the right collector. So even though the average price is 716 and the last sale was at 554, I have this definitely probably around that 800 range for a value. So yeah, it's tough. You can't just say, oh, I have a PSA 6 Ted Williams, what's it worth? Well, it depends on a lot of factors. You can see the pricing is all over the place. And last but not least, I've got the 57 Topps Frank Robinson in a PSA 7. You can see the average price over there on the right. Again, this one's got sales kind of all over the place as well. If you look, here's one from back in May 19th for $1,000. Again, older label, off-centered for sure on this one, but still a great card for any collection. Here's one that's like perfectly, just beautifully centered all the way around. New label, sold for $1,355. Nice sale there. This one at REA sold all the way up to $1,620. Just a beautiful card. Probably had just a beautiful card and had some eyes on it in our EA auction. That probably assists that one go up. And then here, let's go back to March. There's a $1,300 sale here. This one's got great centering as well. So here's the one that I have in my collection here. You can see pretty decently centered, just maybe slightly off left to right, but newer label and great eye appeal card, in my opinion. So based on those previous sales there, I think I'd put mine somewhere in that $1,300 range for a value, based on what I'm seeing. So it just kind of goes to show you that I find it's kind of hard to track vintage cards in the traditional way. So you can look it up on VCP as a starting point, or, you know, eBay past sales and things like that. But at the end of the day, eye appeal does play a huge role in the card. And I've kind of made it a point with my collection to just collect higher eye appeal cards. I do feel like that does make them a little more liquid. Not that I plan on selling a bunch of cards or anything, but it is nice to know that you have cards that a larger percentage of the population would like to have in their own collections. It's just kind of human nature to seek out the best, best eye appeal card, etc. for the grade. So, hope you guys are enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. Just kind of hanging out with the family today. My wife works today, so great chance to sit down and make a little video and share it with all of you. Hopefully you guys are all doing well, and kind of let me know what you think. What do you guys use for your tracking data? Do you use VCP, eBay past sales, a combination of all? Do you not care what the prices are? Do you not even look? I'm sure there's a lot of different people that do a lot of the different kinds of things out there, but just thought I'd share with you what I do as far as my PC goes. So hopefully you guys are doing well, and we'll talk to you again soon. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.